It's time for the Bookie and the Bettor Show. If you're a sports fan, now it's time to play the odds and make every bet count. New episodes post every Thursday on your favorite streaming service. Now introducing Rob Kowalski, the Bookie, and Randy White, the Bettor.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bookie and the Bettor Show. I'm your host, Robert Kowalski, joined once again by my cohorts, Nick Schulte, Randy White.
Oh, what a week. Oh, what a week.
You know, the Super Bowl has come and gone, but we have an infinite supply of betting stories, previews, and quite possibly even some selections. If you recall any episode that we've recorded this year. Hope your Super Bowl actually turned out as well as we've seen, obviously, from reports around, well, not only anywhere in Nevada, but pretty much around the country. You know, it would have been a better decision if San Francisco would have won. Would have been a greater decision if San Francisco would have won by 3 or more. But c'est la vie. Game was played. It seems as if, I don't know, I could probably focus on 100 things. I think Nick could probably focus on 500 things. And
sounds about right.
Randy could probably just focus on his perfect overtime and field goal prognostications, for an awful lot of time. What I want to actually do,
Rob, I mean, think about this. Sin City, and I know we talked about this a few weeks ago. A few years ago, they didn't want any sporting events or teams in Las Vegas. Las Vegas did a good job. And obviously, the glamour and everything that was going on, there was a lot of events there last week. But the experience, and I think even to the players' sentiment, they enjoyed having this game in Vegas. I mean, it kind of made sense.
Oh, yeah. It's a perfect location. You got, like I said, direct flights from every city. They have the rooms. And who doesn't want to go to Vegas? So,
unlike when they had their first Super Bowl at the Meadowlands, they could probably check off that box. We'll probably never see another Super Bowl in the Meadowlands, that's for sure. Despite, them having a newer stadium, no one wants to go in the winter to New Jersey.
I'm curious to see, we had 2 pretty big events in Vegas this year. You had Formula One and then now the Super Bowl. I'm curious to see, when the gaming numbers come out, which was the more successful. Because, Formula One set all the records. And little tidbit, again, not really sports related, but I did see that the Super Bowl brought in an estimated 875 private jets to the Las Vegas Valley. Formula One brought in 1,005, so a little bit more.
So based off of that metric?
Yeah, but I think, again,
Wow.
That's a nice problem to have to run out of.
Exactly,
I guess to call them parking spots for private jets.
Yeah, I think they were going for 15,000 a day or something.
It's nothing.
It's one of those things. If you have
that's a rounding error.
Exactly. If you have to ask how much it is, you can't afford it.
That's it.
Thing, so.
That's it.
So, all right, we have a scenario here where we have an active player, and this falls right into my wheelhouse of the Mount Rushmore of everything. I can't resist. I can't. Patrick Mahomes now is wearing multiple Super Bowl rings. His entire career is just championship bound, whether it's to make it to the top and lose or win outright, just wins. That's bottom line right now.
He's a winner.
So I'll go ahead and start off with Randy here. Obviously, we'll go ahead and carve out a spot for Tom Brady on the leftmost position for the greatest quarterback in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes there right now if he stops playing today?
Well, and that's a great topic, because if you go by Hall of Fame character or Hall of Fame stats, is it Super Bowls you win? Does that dictate whether you're a Hall of Famer and the greatest of all time? Because I know a lot of our listeners, and maybe even to Nick's standpoint, he's too young to remember Johnny Unitas. But
who?
If you look at, obviously, Brady 1-6, you've got Bradshaw and you got Joe Montana. Are they in the same mix as a Mahomes? I mean,
I feel like you hear this conversation with every sport. You hear the Jordan, LeBron, Kobe in basketball. You hear, there's nobody that's going to beat Tiger Woods, but now you got Montana, Brady, now Mahomes is in the mix for football. And I really have to say, I think you look at how the game was played back in the 80s and 90s and how it's played today, it's not the same game.
No, today's quarterback, with him being able to scramble and do some of these throws, falling down and behind his back.
And I mean, you have the training, you have the diets now, you have, I mean, they're bigger, faster, stronger. So it's kind of a tough comparison, I think, to make. But for me personally, I mean, what's the ultimate goal of being on a team? And it's to win the championship. And so for me, it's how many Super Bowls you got? You know, what's your record?
He's a Hall of Famer. He'll be a first ballot
100%. Now, Hall of Fame, I think, is a little different. You look at little bit stats and this, that, and the other thing. But as far as greatest of all time, in my book, it goes, you know, how many rings do you got? You know, what's your record?
So you're taking a box, right? Let's just say I'm holding a box for those of you listening into the show, and it holds rings. So you take Mahomes' rings and you put it in a box, and you put Dan Marino's rings and you put it in a box. Spoiler alert, they're invisible.
Yeah, do you know Dan Marino and I have the same amount of Super Bowls?
So Mahomes is better than Marino.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's kind of an end around, but we finally got to.
But is that what dictates it? Is
it's personal
This is
opinion.
the beauty
It's personal opinion.
of the Mount Rushmore of everything.
That's it.
That's another podcast for another day, by the way. I swear that will happen. So Mahomes is in.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
I'm not saying he's the greatest of all time
he's not,
yet.
No, I'm not asking for the great. Are you in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, if he quits today, he's in the Hall of Fame. I also believe, you know, Brock Purdy, with the record he has, if he quit today, he was be in the Hall of Fame. Just some of the stats that he put up this year. But
Stop. No, Randy, stop. Did you just put Brock Purdy into the Hall of Fame?
Yes. His jersey is already in the Hall of Fame.
This is madness. I refuse. No. I don't care about the fact that he was drafted last.
No,
and now you're.
I don't care about
taking
that
his.
I'm just. You look at his stats through the first.
You're just saying this as
games.
just a matter of fact. His jersey's in the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame, and that's why he's a Hall of Famer.
If you look at his first 15 starts in the NFL, he dwarfs Brady. He dwarfs Mahomes. He's better than all of them through the first 15. If you're just looking at pure QBR ratings, passer ratings, yards per completion, I mean, he's got 7% of his passes in the first 15 games were touchdowns. That's
Nick Schulte.
ridiculous.
How many games are there in a regular season?
18 now?
18?
17 with bye week.
18.
Yeah.
And through 15 games, you want to put him in the Hall of Fame.
I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, but
Wow.
that's me. Hall of Fame's judged on stats, you know, so it's very opinionated.
I have 4-letter words I need to spout, but I'm not going to because I don't want to change the explicit rating of our show.
But now,
That's ridiculous, Nick.
How? I mean, again, just looking at the rookie stats.
You can't put Brock Purdy into the Hall of Fame today.
I'm just saying, if he retired tomorrow, I mean, has there been a better quarterback in his first
Okay, fine.
season?
So you're going to put him in your Mount Rushmore too?
No, I'm not going to put him. That's a different story. You said Hall of Fame, not Mount Rushmore. He's not even close to the Mount Rushmore yet. And again,
Yet.
I'm faithful. You know, it's always next
well,
year. A little
he
tough
needs
last
more
Sunday.
than 2 seasons to
Exactly.
secure the.
Again, I'm
Oh,
just
man.
if you want to look at the pure stats, it's pretty remarkable what he's done.
System quarterback.
Aren't they all? I mean, you call the play, you run the play, you make the check down. I mean, it's called a system. I mean, I like his comeback.
Is there a
though.
system
I like
in
his
Baltimore?
Yeah, it's called Lamar Jackson. Get him the ball and let him run around, and everybody's going to fall down. And if you can't tackle him within 15 seconds, somebody's going to be open downfield.
But I am serious. If you go back, and again, if Super Bowls dictate Hall of Fame candidacy, and you look at a Dan Marino, but you look at Johnny Unitas, and a lot of you are too young to remember this, but if you pull up some of his video and you look at more than a few games, this guy, he was the real deal back then. And granted, he's not the quarterback of today, but as far as pinpoint passing and throwing it on a rope and getting there and winning games.
Fine, Randy. You know, I'll accept your perspective. Johnny Unitas on your Mount Rushmore?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. Well, so we know that Mahomes is clearly carved into everyone's Mount Rushmore at this point, which is Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame for sure. Mount
okay,
Rushmore?
wait,
I don't know about that one.
All right. So
Quite
fine.
yet.
So one last thought. Let's say Mahomes plays another 3 years.
Okay.
And in those 3 years, he absolutely throws up all over himself.
Mhm.
sub 500 record every single season, no playoffs.
One could only hope.
Hall of Fame?
Yeah, still in the Hall of Fame.
Even with 3 seasons of just puke.
What looks what he's done so far. I mean, again, it's all
Fair
about
enough.
stats, and I mean,
But wait a minute.
the guy's
Isn't
been
it what you've done for me lately? You forget about past?
I think that's more of an internal marketing discussion,
okay.
but I would say he's in the Hall of Fame for sure. I don't see how he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, even if he just completely doesn't do anything for the rest of his career. I mean, he was drafted in 18?
Yes.
Drafted in 18.
Yeah.
He redshirted his first year behind Alex Smith, started in 19. I think that was like the first time the Chiefs really made the playoffs. I remember they got knocked out in round 1. I was kind of disappointed because I was kind of pulling for him at the time.
Well, they've been 4
and
in
then,
the last
and then
6.
since then, it's been the Patrick Mahomes
championships.
show.
Yeah.
And again, the guys, and what's going to be interesting to see, come down the line is it, it's going to be, is it the kind of Belichick versus Brady? Is it Mahomes versus Reed? And Andy Reid isn't a spring chicken. I mean, how old is he? Do we know? He's got to be. He's got to be up there.
64, I think.
Okay.
63 or 64.
I would have taken the over. But yeah, each their own. But I mean, how many more seasons has he got in him, kind of a thing?
I'm older than him. What is wrong with that picture?
Age is only a number, Randy. Only a number.
That's what I've been telling myself. So, look, we've got a couple of things that I wanted to cover in today's show. One of them, actually, just one last thought on just sports gambling in general, right? And so everyone knows about the boxes, the squares, especially in the Super Bowl. Everyone in most bars. I think that probably...
And I just want to specify everything is regulated by the state of Nevada Gaming Control Board.
This is, of course, clearly not something that we allow here in the state of Nevada. But perhaps you have partaken in a Super Bowl squares contests elsewhere. And, a situation came up that my brother alerted me to in this past Super Bowl. And why? Because the game went into overtime. So I present to you the following conundrum. The game is over. 4 quarters have been played. But now they go into overtime. The sequence of numbers are different from the 4th quarter to the final score of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Person says, hey, I win. This says right here, 4th quarter.
Yep.
And here are the numbers at the conclusion of the 4th quarter. So those ending sequence numbers, I win because it says 4th quarter. But the person that says, I'm sorry, these pools are supposed to be for final.
Yeah.
Different set of sequence numbers. Randy Wyke, who gets the money?
Well, a lot of pools are doing 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and final score. So in case that happens. But technically, again, if you should have rules so that you're covered, it should be the final score of the game if you're in those pools. But a lot of pools, and even the ones I was in this year,
Not in Nevada.
Not in Nevada. But they had 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and final.
Okay. So let's say there's no rules, right? Because it's Super Bowl squares, right? Who needs rules? You know what it is. You pony over your units, and whatever the score is, you win the prize.
Yeah.
The square games that I've seen in California and other jurisdictions,
Promises.
I like it. They have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then it'll say 4th.
Right.
If it says 4th, then whoever had the score at the end of the 4th quarter, because that's literally what it says on the game that you're playing in. So if it said 4th,
says 4th,
the ones that I see will say 4th/OT, which means basically your final.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's say it just says 4th.
Then you're getting paid after the 4th, and I would be pissed if I had that number, and I'm not gonna. I understand the bitch on both sides, but the square box says 4th quarter, and that was my score at the end of the 4th quarter. So,
but they regulated not as 4th quarter, as final score.
But a square game is not going to have a detailed rules like
it never does. It never. That's the whole point.
Like, again, you look at the square game and it says 1st quarter payout 100, 2nd quarter 100, 3rd quarter whatever it is, and then it'll say if it says 4th quarter this,
I see
it's the payout. That's your rules right there.
All right. So
if it said 4th/OT, then it would go into OT.
Yeah. No, it's That is a good question.
So Nick, if the sheet says fourth quarter, that's it, and nothing else.
That's it.
You're getting paid after the fourth quarter.
That's what the rules say.
Randy Weig, what would you do? The sheet says fourth quarter. How would you judge it?
Well, I'm sure you could go to both people and say you want to split the final outcome prize, but I think it's final score. If you go by and you don't have rules and you don't split a fourth quarter and you just have first, second, third, and final, it's final score.
Even though it says fourth.
Even though it says fourth.
How about that? And this, again, is why I bring these things up, because I've got two completely different opinions here. You would think, right? Because no one anticipates overtime, which if you had it, congratulations, anywhere between 9, maybe even as high as 11-1 on that overtime, including someone here at the table.
Thank you very much. Winner, chicken dinner.
That's exactly the point here, is that, people are in this situation now, probably everywhere.
Yeah. No,
and they're saying, hey, wait, I got
that's
fourth.
That's a good question. Yeah.
But it's the final.
I don't know. What did they do? Did your brother say what they did back there?
Let's just say that it's still pending. It's pending.
Oh, yes. The old pending rule.
No, that's why, if you're in square games or fantasy leagues, you just kind of got to try to think about these things before they happen, because when they happen, you're going to have two pissed off people, and then you got to try to make it as fair as possible. But again, if the sheet says fourth quarter, that's kind of that in my book. That's the rule. Fourth quarter is fourth quarter. If it says fourth/OT or it says final, then there's no fourth quarter. It's the final payout. Yeah. So it's kind of the legalese, for lack of a better term, of how it's written on the square game.
I would think that this year will go down marked and stamped as boldly as you can for these, and they will very clearly state.
Oh, I'm sure there's...
If it's fourth quarter or final, I'm pretty sure it's just going to say final score instead of the fourth.
And that's why we don't have them in the state of Nevada. They don't want
No.
It's a lottery.
Kind of the same thing, obviously it was in fantasy football, happened last year, but, the final week, which was a championship week, Monday night game was the Buffalo Bills and the Bengals, huge players on both teams. A lot of people had them, championship week, and they only played less than a quarter of that game. And there was... in a lot of fantasy managers, how do I do this? I don't want to screw people over, and that's why I think a lot of people that make these games, you got to think forward and okay, if and or put something in their management. Well, I wouldn't say management, but the pool admin, for lack of a better term, reserves the right for.
Well, maybe they'll have defined rules now for these type situations. That's a good. That's a very good.
1, 2, 3, and F. I think could probably stop all of this debate. But hoping things turn out for the best to all those.
I want to go back to something real quick, though. Who's in your Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks?
It's got to be Brady. It's got to be Mahomes.
You think Mahomes is already number 2?
Yeah, I do. I really, really do. Because I remember him coming out of...
Where's the Joe Montana love? The guy's 4-0 in Super Bowls.
This is true. Listen, there's 2 spots open. Right, I reserve the rights to carve at a later date.
Okay,
maybe next episode.
Okay,
it'll be very difficult for Joe Montana not to make it in there.
And what about Bradshaw?
He's a Steeler, and there are no Steelers on any of my lists.
I got you. Okay,
unless they are to the derogatory.
I thought he was just an announcer.
I do want to bring this up, Robin. I don't know if you're going to touch on it. Obviously, there's a lot of debate post-Super Bowl right now of the San Francisco 49ers and their decision process going into overtime. And I don't really care about, we didn't know what the overtime rule entailed. But I do look at it, football 101. When you go, I don't care, even a regular season overtime. You kick the ball off, especially when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback candidate, and you don't want him to have the last laugh and say, this is all I need to win. You want him to go first so you know what you have to do to win.
And again, I'll be the first one to admit I didn't understand the overtime rules. I always thought that, it's basically sudden death if a touchdown is scored.
Right.
Wasn't that the regular season?
Yes.
If you score a touchdown in your first possession, you win the game.
Right.
A field goal, the other team has a chance to possess the ball.
Exactly.
And so to that point, you would want the ball first because if you score a touchdown, then you win the game. So I think that's what they thought. And then because then it makes it a little bit easier if hey, they were down there and it's 4th and 1, you try to kick the field goal. No, you're going for it to win the game. So.
And along those same lines, again, this is post thinking 101. 49ers are 4th and goal down there. Knowing fully well, to your point, if I kick a field goal, the touchdown is going to win. Do I go for it? Go for the 7? Because let's face it, if they were to tie,
if they scored a touchdown, Kansas City still got to possess the ball.
They did.
But you know exactly what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. He has to score. Now comes to that other thinking, well, you're going to get another possession. And that things change then. But you kick the ball off. And you don't want a guy of Mahomes, to come back and beat you, knowing fully well he's got the last straw. That's me.
I don't want to get in here and play Monday morning quarterback because that's
you guys
what
are
we're doing.
arm-chairing it nice and strong today.
But if I was a coach out there, I think, how long was that 49er defense on the field the final 2 minutes of the game? Don't you want to give those guys a little bit of rest? And so I think that plays a little bit into it. And I think everybody's just ingrained of if you win the coin toss in overtime, you want the ball because if you score first, if you score a touchdown, you'd win the game. So I think that's
now obviously looking at it, the extra point was a big play, but I think the bigger play was the first possession the Chiefs had in the second half, and Mahomes throws an interception at midfield. And they can't do anything with it.
Well, they just abandoned the run for some reason.
So, having flashbacks to that, by the way.
PTSD, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got CMC, the best running back in the league, but no, let's keep passing.
Well, and there's a lot of pointing the finger at Steve Wilkes, and obviously he lost his job.
Yeah, some heads are going to roll.
Is it not the offense that really hurt him in the second half? The defense was there. Now, to your point, they were on the field a lot in the fourth quarter, going into overtime. Is that Steve Wilkes' fault?
Well, the stat that
I'm asking.
The stat that I saw, and again, I mean, you can break stats down any which way you want, but you look at the Niners' defense in the regular season, top of the league, and then you look at the Niners' defense in the playoffs, and it's literally night and day.
Well,
like their yards per game is pretty much double, their points is doubled. It's like two different. Something happened going into the playoffs. I don't know if it's just game planning or game managers, whatever.
You all know the Randy White thought here. You know my thought, my philosophy. Defense wins championships, and the Chiefs had the better defense in the second half.
100%. I don't. Again, if I was the coach and it's 4th and goal, you're on, I think, the 3 or 4 yard line. Your defense has been doing a pretty good job most of the day holding them. Just go for it. Even if they got the ball, you're on the 4 yard line.
I think so. I mean, he's throwing a lot of blame, and I say Shanahan.
I was a nervous wreck because Moody had already missed an extra point, which I blame myself on because my prop last week is there would be a missed extra field goal, and if you freaking made that, we're in overtime. So
they're singing that favorite song. Turn out the lights, the party's over.
How does this happen? Like, I literally was dead silent for 2 minutes, and he got in the song again. And prior to you saying that Kansas City had the better defense, I was sensing an awful lot of 49er apologists here, and I can't have that. This was going on for far too long. Let's give the credit to the better team here.
100%.
Right?
Chiefs won that game.
So they won the game. Clearly, they came back. The defense couldn't do a single thing to stop them. And in the end, a couple of key plays.
And what's going on now? Now Ayuk wants to leave.
Yeah,
you fire your defensive, the offensive backfield coach is left, and now 2 more. The special teams coach wants to leave.
Thank you for bringing that up, because as I'd wish to wrap up this great episode, I'd like for you both to select today, in February, pre-free agency, pre-coaching moves, pre-draft, a NFC championship game contender and an AFC championship contender that is not Kansas City and not San Francisco. Randy first.
Well, I'm going to, I really like the Detroit Lions. I love what Campbell's done with this football team. And a couple, again, coaching blunders, if you will, might have cost them a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so that's the NFC.
I really like the Lions. In the AFC, I still think the Baltimore Ravens are the class act. Now, I've seen some rumblings of some people they're looking at, the free agents they want to pick up. They could be back at the top.
Baltimore,
I'm not
Detroit.
taking the Dallas Cowboys because this year
Smart
I was
move.
a believer. I'm not a believer
Yeah,
anymore.
you should stop. Just stop there.
Yeah,
It's all false gods. That's all they
there
are.
with the Raiders, unfortunately. But I know it makes me cry. So, but I do like the Ravens,
The
and I think
Lions and the
Lamar-
Ravens to make it to their respective conference championships. Nick Schulte, same question.
I like Green Bay. I think, with Love there, they got a good team. They really didn't have any expectations going into the season, and they kind of set the world on fire. So I think NFC's on notice for next season, and I think they're going to build around this kid. So I look for the Packers to be strong over the next couple of years. My gut kind of wants to go with Baltimore, but I just when it's a playoff game and it's on the line, I've just seen Lamar crumble more than I've seen him win. Mahomes is a winner. So my AFC team, since I can't pick the Chiefs, would be the Houston Texans. I really think that, again, now the rookie quarterback, they're building around him. And, one of those teams, you didn't really expect them to do anything, and they made a late push in the playoffs. So those would be my two.
I'm sorry, Jim Harbaugh. We're not sold yet.
Gentlemen, very, very well done.
No love for the Chargers?
Yeah.
Maybe after the draft we could revisit them.
Okay.
And again, just real quick, the Mahomes Thunder, they do not want to lose Chris Jones. If Chris Jones, he's up for free agency, they lose him for next year, that one move, again, because defense wins championships, that one move will cost him if they can't re-sign him.
And Mahomes is still on your Mount Rushmore. Is Chris Jones next to him? Or
Trust me. Defense wins championships. To get to that championship, for him to have a great game and win another ring, you need guys like that on your team because he's a beast.
I would
agree. I think we'll probably come back to this league a few more times during the offseason. You could probably count on us talking about this league during the NFL draft. We'll have a great special for that when it comes up in late April. But the next time we record, we'll already have the very first preseason game of spring training. Dodgers will be playing on Thursday the 22nd, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what Nick and Randy's picks would be for the National League, the American League, and then perhaps a couple of surprises that we may see for baseball. We're looking after that. Clearly, we've got March Madness and the conference championships that'll be coming up, so we'll take a look and see what your guys' picks are to make it to the Final Four. And basically, as that wraps up, we'll be taking a look at our NBA and NHL playoffs, championship selections there. So there's just like I said, an infinite amount. Randy, you are crying the blues about what I'm going to do. Like I said, we've got plenty of content here at the Bookie and Bettor, at Baldini's Casino. Clearly, just look at this weekend right now. We've got the All-Star game in the NBA. There's a great UFC card happening out in California. So all of these great things constantly are going to be coming up. And then don't forget, you think it might just go dark and really quiet even after all these leagues? Wait till you see what I have up my sleeve. If you like what you heard or watched, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, I'm your host, Robert Kowalski. Thank you so much for joining. For Nick Schulte.
Thanks, guys.
For Randy Wyke. See you all next time.
Have a good one.
Turn out the lights, the party's over.
Thank you for listening to the Bookie and the Bettor Show. New episodes post every Thursday on your favorite streaming service.